to our second question. This particular question focuses on illegal immigration. As we all know, there is a huge problem with illegal immigration in the United States. One proposed solution is to create what is now known as the guest worker program. What is your position on the guest worker program and why? And if you're opposed to the guest worker program, what is your alternative solution to the handling of illegal immigrants and workers in the United States?
Well, obviously I've been involved with the illegal immigration issue for about 10 years, and I've been, before Mr. Tancredo got to Congress, I was actually probably the leading spokesman on the issue. I will just have to say, this is something we have to come to grips with. We've got a flow of illegal immigrants into our country, which will destroy our way of life and offer incredible security threats to our people. And we don't get control of that by providing benefits to people who come here illegally. So first and foremost, we've got to do this. We've got to make sure we don't provide jobs and we don't provide the government benefits that we have all paid for. We have a limited amount of money to pay for health care and education. That money should be going to our people and not to illegal immigrants. And especially, we should not be providing Social Security for illegal immigrants. The fact is that if we permit illegal immigrants to get into that system, and I know that right now that that's happening, we just have not worked on it. The administration is obviously on the wrong side of this question. And you know, Social Security isn't just a pension system, but everybody who won't come here from the third world if we give them a pension when they get here. But remember, it's also a survivor's benefit. If someone comes here and they're here illegally and then they get on the Social Security system, if they die or are disabled, they get a survivor's benefit and their family. We would be sending billions of dollars overseas to the Chinese and the Mexicans and the Guatemalans and everybody else. That is wrong. So in order to get control of illegal immigration, we don't need a guest worker program. We need a commitment to end all benefits and to make sure that employers are held accountable for hiring illegals. The illegal as well as the employer need to face some type of punishment. Now, let me just note a couple things about illegal immigration in terms of the guest worker program. I don't believe we need a guest worker program, and I disagree with those people who say, oh, we have to have this massive flow of immigrants into our society, illegal immigrants into our society, because I support legal immigration, which is over 1 million people a year, and we can absorb that. What we can't absorb is 3 or 4 million illegals pouring into our country. But the reason they say business says, by the way, what we got is a coalition doing business who wants to bid down wages, and the Democratic Party who's trying to manipulate illegals for political purposes. And the fact is, we need
We'll have plenty of time for questions. Decorum, please.
I guess that's just totally out of the question. That's just totally out of the question.
Decorum,
That
please.
people will manipulate them. But let me point out this, that we do not have a shortage of working people to work at these jobs. Just like we don't have a shortage of nurses, we don't have a shortage of other people to pick fruit, we don't have a shortage of anything. What we have is a shortage of people who will work for those dirt poor paying jobs. We have to pay our people more money, and we will only do that by stemming the flow of illegals into our country. We'll have plenty of nurses if we pay them more money. We can have people pick the fruit, okay? It's back. You know, it hurts your back to pick the fruit. Okay, let's have the prisoners pick fruit. And let's pay them, and let's pay.
Quorum, please, or we'll add additional time.
And let's pay prisoners what they would get the market rate, and so they can help pay for their incarceration. When they get out, they'll have a nest egg of money. Rather than having them sit around, watch TV, and pump up for 3 or 4 years, they can earn $20,000 or $30,000 a year and pick the fruit. These are the type of creative approaches we need, and not just hauling more people in from the outside, which will further depress wages.
I'm not even sure where to start. Let me say this, before I get into what I plan to talk about with illegal immigration, is what my opponent just said simply isn't true. The Census Bureau statistics don't bear that out. look at all the projections and the studies from UCI, that we're having a problem because we have baby boomers that are going out of the workforce. And all the numbers show that we do need the people to supplement our labor force, and we don't have enough to get it done. Okay, and that's not me, that's the United States Government Census Bureau. And if we didn't need them, why are they all employed? So, what are they doing? Who are they working for? So, and yet, at the same time, the conservatives brag about we have the lowest unemployment that we've had in 20 years, right? Now, how can we have lower unemployment and all these people, and we don't need them, right? Who's going to do it? So that's one issue. As far as looking at the illegal immigration problem, like the question stated here, I simply recognize that we've got extremes on both parties, on both sides. We've heard one extreme here tonight. And then I tried to look at it, extreme meaning that position, not it.
It's okay.
I wasn't really negative. Okay, I'm saying that's the extreme on that side. Okay, I try to look at it as a business person. I see the objectives. Number one is national security. I want everybody to have a background check. I don't want a terrorist coming across the border and blowing up the Long Beach harbor. Okay, so that's number one. Then we have problems that we have overcrowded emergency rooms at hospitals. We've got schools that are overcrowded. We've got wages that are being depressed because employers are cheating and paying lower dollar amounts than what the prevailing wage is. So we have all of these issues. Okay, now I have called to go ahead and put the 10,000 agents that were originally budgeted, 2,000 a year, fully trained on the borders to control the border situation. I don't favor sending the National Guard there when they don't even have the authority to do the job. I want somebody that's trained and that's their full-time job to put there. Then I've asked for 120 prosecutors to go after the employers and work on the overstayed visas. Because as we know, 50% is overstayed visas. We've got the Canadian border to work with too. So I've called for those things. So I think I'm in agreement with my opponent and other people up to this point. But then we get the question of what about the 12 million or however many million you think are here. The number I see is 12, 13, somewhere along that. What do you do with those? Now I have talked with international contractors that have workers' comp for light industrial. I've worked with Monster.com and several job boards, and I believe that we can come up with a work visa when you have people that are working here right now and they're gainfully employed, and you require their employer to to sponsor them with a background check and put them through the legal process, so we don't have to worry about a terrorist being there, okay, being here. Then the right taxes are being paid, and presumably then we have the money to pay for the emergency rooms for the schools and so forth. You have the prosecutors to tell these employers if they don't sponsor them and get the background checks, then they're going to jail. Because we have illegal employers too, just like the workers. So I just looked at it as what's practical. And the only criticism I get is people saying, well, somebody that's further up in the line. I can't solve everything.
Thank you, candidate Brandt. We'll listen to your development in a moment.
I hate to say this, I'm sure you learned this in economics, but a major influx of people does affect the prevailing wage. What we have done is drive down the prevailing wage. The prevailing wage is what the real wage is in this society. And the fact is, if you have 20 million illegals, which I believe we have, and we have an out-of-control flow coming into our country, what will happen is wages will go down. Businessmen like that, and whoever else manipulates those people like that. And that's why we haven't been able to do anything in Washington about it. There's been a group of us who's worked very hard. Let me know if there are people to do those jobs. I disagree with you totally. There are Americans to do those jobs. Like I say, yeah, everybody laughs about prisoners. The fact is there's 2.5 million prisoners who could work and do some of these things. We've got 50 million Americans between the ages of 18 and 50 who are not working because they won't work for these slave wages. The fact is, we need to pay our people more. We let illegals come over here and have a nanny, and they pay her 30% of what an American would make. Of course, course, who are we shortchanging? We're shortchanging that American woman who would love to take care of those kids, who now doesn't have a job.
Thank you. 1 minute rebuttal.
First of all, I agreed that it brought down the wages. That's the problem. And what's the reason that undocumented workers drive the wages down? Because they're illegal. That's the reason. If they were competing, and the Census Bureau does bear out that we don't have enough people to do the work. So what I'm saying is the whole problem is that if these workers, if the employers were required to pay the prevailing wage and we had the prosecutors to hold them to the line, then we wouldn't have this problem. And the taxes would be paid, and we wouldn't have the overcrowded schools and emergency rooms, because we'd be collecting the taxes on all workers. And that's the way the tax system is designed.